child is struggling with writing and answering questions. This is something that I've been hearing a lot more often with a lot of the new families that we've been working with, a lot of new children and students that we started working with. And the question is, why is this happening? Why are children struggling with writing and answering questions? And what can you do to start to look at the problem and start to find ways to resolve it? So my name is Jude. We're here today with Limitless Education Group. Welcome to the channel. And that's the problem, that's the question that we're going to be looking at today. Why are children struggling with writing and answering questions, being able to process what's in their mind? Let's get into it. So over the past 20, 30 years, there has been a decline in writing, reading scores within the country. Talking about the United States, but I'm sure you can look at the global statistics and see that this is happening. This is a trend all over the world, right? And so why is this is happening? The nation's report card says that 60% of students are not at their level for reading and writing. I actually have a friend in Florida who was telling me that 50% of the students are not hitting their metrics for reading when they're doing the state tests, but yet 70% of 12th graders of high schools are still graduating. So how come children aren't being prepared to be able to articulate their thoughts on paper, come up with coherent ideas, but yet they're still allowed to go through the school system and go on into the real world, where there's going to be a lot more challenges than just learning how to form an idea and put that onto paper. Last week, I was actually referred to a family who came to us because her children were having trouble with writing and spelling specifically. When I went over to do the assessment with the family, I asked the parents, what does your child read for fun? And they confessed to me that their child doesn't read at all. They actually hate reading. Now, bear in mind, this is a family who, when the children were younger, they would have timesheets posted on their fridge so that they were required to do 20, 30 minutes of reading daily, whether they got home from school or even on a weekend. They would, sign their names on the fridge, and they would sign what book that they read or what material that they read. As the children start to get older, they start to lose that habit and they start to lose that discipline. Got to the point where, even though the parents, their mother would punish them for not doing their reading, not doing these timesheets, the children just didn't care, right? And these punishments weren't working on them. And it got to an even deeper point where the family would argue a lot. There'd be constant fighting between the sisters and the mother. And so eventually the mom just gave up on trying to enforce this reading rule. So as a result, as the kids got into older grades, middle school, now they're in high school, they went from what used to be A students, now they're BA, B, and even F in some classes. As a mother, imagine the gradual decline of your children going from top of the class, straight A students, now going to the middle of the pack, and in some cases, even failing. It's like seeing a old person lose their memory, but in the reverse, because these children, your children, still have so much potential, but you see them just going backwards and downwards in the wrong way. And as a mother, she was confessing to me that if she really wanted her kids to do their reading, but it would just cause so much stress, so much headaches. It's like pulling teeth and pulling hair to get them to even just do that 20, 30 minutes that they love to do as they were kids. So the next question we have to look at is, where did this hate of reading come from? Because you don't just wake up one day and start hating reading, even though you had been doing it for the past 5, 6, 7 years of your life. So with this family, we found that the lack of reading and the gradual disdain and hate towards reading came because the child had a lack of confidence in their comprehension of the material. So we did an assessment for her, and she's 12 years old at this point, but she was reading and scoring at a 7-year-old level. So that's five years behind. After probing her a bit more, we got to know that she started developing behavior issues when she was in the 7th grade or 7 years old, right? She would be talking a lot in class. She would start to get kicked out of class, and all these different things around behavior and even sometimes anger and outbursts during her class sessions. Going back to that time, asking her more, bringing up some more memories, we realized, and she realized for herself, that was around the time when she started to not like reading, when she started to develop that hatred because she couldn't understand. And so we found that her hatred towards reading came as a combination because of her lack of understanding. And because she couldn't understand, she developed these behavioral issues because she didn't know how to express and comprehend her problem. At that point, her frustrations, her angers, and her behavior started to turn into self-doubt, right? And lack of confidence in herself and her ability to even learn new things because she couldn't read new things, right? And And so it's a whole combination, it's a whole mixing pot of different things that could be leading towards why the student hates reading. And when we're talking about reading right now, but that is all related to writing, because if a child doesn't have the ability to be able to read effectively, they're not going to be able to write effectively. When I first started studying computer science, the best computer science professor that I had told me that you have to learn how to read code before you can learn how to write code, right? And that's always stuck with me, because how am I going to be able to create the thoughts that I want if I'm not able to even have access to ideas? Reading is where a child is able to build up a storehouse, build up a cache of different ideas, different thoughts, different points that they do in turn would like to go write about. And then the problem is, if they don't even have the fundamental, the basic vocabulary and understanding of the different words that they're reading, they're never going to be able to process the information to then turn it back into their own words. A child that reads a lot is able to write effectively because they know how to spell, because they've been seeing similar words and the same words over and over and over again. And so when they go back to write it for themselves, they know how to spell it and they know where to use it in context, because they've seen it so many times in the different readings that they've done. And so in this case, we got to the root of the writing problem because we found out there was actually a reading problem, right? So for your children, if you're seeing that they're having some trouble within writing, we have to address, okay, what is the underlying root cause of that? Was there a reading problem? If there was a reading problem, was there a behavioral problem associated to the reading because a child didn't understand what they're reading and such, they developed, this lack of belief in their ability to learn. And so this is why it's so important to, get assessments done regularly. And you may be thinking, hey, my child already does that at school. They already got an assessment. We know where they're at. They got, a plan from school and such like that. But it's important to get an outside perspective, a third-party perspective, somebody that isn't directly involved in that system, because then you can see it from a different lens, a different angle, and see things that, maybe the school has been missing, any hidden weaknesses, but also any hidden strengths, any hidden talents that would be able to support your family and your child in the best way, especially in this world that we're living in right now. So now with that child, she is caught up to her grade level in reading after working with her for a few months, and we're actually going to be helping her now apply to different private schools and start her applications for that and see what scholarships that we can get her as well. So that small writing problem, which was actually a reading problem, has now cascaded into, on the other side direction, on the other side, a brighter future for her, because now she's got opportunities and now she's going to be doing different programs to support her to keep leveling up and leveling up. So if you want to see something like that for yourself or your family, or just curious on what different processes that we have that we've been able to use to support students to get amazing results, feel free to reach out. All of our contact information is in the link below. You can give us a call, shoot us an email, schedule some time on the calendar for 15 minutes or so, and we would love to just have a conversation to be able to point you in the right direction for yourself and your family. And this is Jude, Limitless Education Group. It's been a pleasure to speak to you, and we will talk again soon. All the best.